The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about the NC.
Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome in
Yay.
to another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
Yes, all right, here we are. Cool. Episode
31.
31. And what is the topic?
This is developing your psychic abilities.
Cool. This will be a kind of a fun one.
Yeah,
Interesting.
for sure.
Awesome. Well, before we jump into this, did you have anything from last week that we'd like to share?
I have a couple of things. First of all, we have a new iTunes review that I wanted to read. Let me get that for you.
All right.
Okay, I'm hooked. I had only listened to a couple episodes before the mass shooting one. I'm not a huge believer in this stuff, but I was curious. Samantha and Danny sold me. They are genuine, and I truly believe in Samantha's gifts.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was really nice.
Very nice.
So thank you to whoever posted that.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then last week was our In Memory of the Borderline 12 episode about mass shootings. And ironically, this morning, we had another one here. Like,
unfortunately.
not far from us.
No.
Yeah.
Saugus,
yeah. That's in Santa Clarita, which, if you're familiar at all with California, it's by Six Flags Magic Mountain. And it's actually the 9th safest city in California. And California is a huge state. It's like the size of the East Coast.
Right.
It's also the 3rd safest city in the country with a population of over 200,000. So it's very, very safe.
Right.
This is showing us, obviously, that these things can happen anywhere.
They really can.
It's very scary. I don't even know what to say anymore.
It's not the places, it's the people. I mean, it's us. We got to figure it out.
We got to figure it out, and I don't even know what it is.
I don't either.
Yeah, but anyways.
I wish I did.
Yeah, me too, but so anyways, that happened today, and our thoughts and prayers and love and everything to the victims and their families.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Sucky.
Yeah, it is. So that's my recap.
All right.
Sorry,
well,
it went.
yeah, not in and out of high note, but that's
Yeah.
all right. Sometimes that happens.
That's okay. We'll get into this episode, and it'll be good.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that then.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
episode 31, developing your psychic ability.
Yes. So I wanted to, first of all, if you're new to our podcast, I wanted to give you just a brief background on us and why we're kind of doing this episode about developing your psychic abilities, because we are both still very much in the process of doing that.
Yep.
I have been an animal communicator my whole life. So basically, I've been able to talk to animals since I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I really didn't think about that kind of falls into a very similar category as being a psychic or a medium. I just figured that was what I could do, and that was it.
Right.
I had visions. I had things that I just knew or whatever,
Right.
but just chalked them up to,
It's still energy. It's still communicating with an energy.
Yeah, for real. But I didn't know that.
Right.
I just thought it was coincidence.
Right.
So, and then about 2 years ago, I met a woman who was actually brought to me by my mother who's passed away. And she was a medium. And she told me that I have these abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so at 40 years old, I started developing my psychic abilities. And so I've had to do it from scratch. I'm not one of the lucky ones that's had all of these abilities since I was a small kid. I'm now having to learn how to not just build them, but how to manage them, because it's not as easy as you may think it is. There's a lot that comes with it.
Yeah.
And then in this whole thing, Danny as well is now starting to build his abilities, I feel.
Oh, you rubbed off on me, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's hard to live here and
No,
not
I think
pick that up.
we kind of were drawn to each other. We kind of found each other based on what we were looking for in this part of our life.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
we had been through a lot
Yeah.
as in our different lives. And so I think in our conscious or subconscious, we were manifesting what we really wanted
Right.
in a marriage and in a relationship and a friendship and
Yes.
a life partner.
Absolutely. Yeah, I never saw this part of it coming. I never really saw it as something that,
Right.
would help to build my marriage, but we'll get into it in another episode. But like the other side's really almost been like a marriage counselor to us in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's helped.
Yeah, it's helped a lot. So, but we'll talk about that. We're going to do a whole episode on spiritual awakening and stuff. So, let's see, what else can I tell you about us? So, I guess one of the hardest things for me has been the patience of trying to not want this all at once.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult because a lot of people don't want to work on something that's going to take time to build. And I'll tell you, first of all, that before you get into this, you're going to need to have that patience, because there is no way that you can build this and not.
Right.
It's very frustrating, but it's very rewarding at the same time. I think a lot of it just comes down to understanding about the abilities and what they are and what they aren't,
Right.
So I asked our listeners if they believe that we all have abilities, because I truly do believe, and I know you do too, that we all have these. There's nothing special about you and I or anybody else.
It's the extra sense.
It is. It's just something, it's a part of our brain that most people don't open up because they've been told that either it doesn't exist or it's something that, you just don't mess with for whatever reason.
Right.
Right. So anyways, 89% of our listeners believe that it is an ability that we all have. And I thought that's good. Yeah. And then I also asked them if those people had tapped into their abilities, and 85% of them said that they have tapped into them.
That's good too.
Now, of course, this is our page. It's people that follow our show.
Community,
right, exactly. So this
not a national average.
It's not. The statistics on this are definitely going to be different. But yeah, but you can see that there are actually a lot of people that have tuned
I think
into
we would be more surprised by the national if there was.
Yeah, there probably is. I'll have to look into it. Maybe I'll look into it.
I think I would be pleasantly surprised, maybe.
I think so. I think that it's a subject that people don't talk about a lot, because now that I've opened up about it, I have a lot of people that come to me about their abilities, and people that do not share on our page that just feel like they need somebody to talk to.
Right.
And it's great. I love to do it, but it shows me just how many people there are out there that can do this. Just don't talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah. So when I first started, I honestly didn't know where to start. I really didn't. I was just told basically, you have these abilities, you just have to learn how to use them.
And you at first didn't want to share it either. You wanted it to be more private and kind of on the down low.
No, I didn't want anybody to know. That's for sure. That's for sure. But I didn't really know where to even get started at building my abilities. So I figured in this day and age, probably Facebook is the best place for me to look, right? Mm-hmm. And I came across a lot of groups that are dedicated to just this, teaching you how to use your psychic abilities. There's different exercises in these groups, people will put something in their hand, and then they'll take a picture of their hand like closed, like a fist, and you're supposed to tune into what's inside there. And, color, size, whatever you can get. And sometimes, you'll get close. But there's also other things like what I do in my group that I have that I'll talk about later, is they do practice readings where people will put up pictures of loved ones or themselves or their animals, and the members of the group will just go. They'll just, whatever they feel, they will just go in this post and tell the person that posted the picture. That's how I got started. And that was the first time that I did a reading. That was how I did it. And everything that I said was accurate. And I was completely blown away by that, because I had no idea what I was doing. I really didn't. I didn't. Amazing. I wasn't even meditating. I was just sitting on the couch and I was like, I'm going to give this a shot. And I did. And it was accurate. And if I wouldn't have gone into a group like that, I don't know how I would have found that out.
Right.
Because, I probably...
You would have stumbled on it somewhere.
Yeah,
it might have just taken you longer. But
this really, really helped me. This was a great way to get started. And I still actually use those groups, and I have one that I'm actually an admin of and help other people now with building their abilities in these groups. But a few things about like the Facebook groups and why on these other reasons that it's good is that nobody knows you in these groups. Like, it's a closed private group. So you might have a friend in there. Most likely you won't, at least when you get started. Like, now a lot of my friends are in these groups because I'm kind of like, teaching them and they're growing and whatever. But it's pretty much nobody knows you. So you can just go. You don't have to worry about like what your friends are going to think or who's going to see it. And that is, for me, was a good feeling at first because like you said, I didn't want anybody to know.
Right.
I just wanted to try and see what I could do, and nobody needed to see that.
Right.
So that would, for me, I would say that's a great place to start. You can go online and look at like Google and, look up these types of things on Google, but you're not going to get that interaction. And that's really what you need is the interaction, the person that can tell you, yes, you're correct about what you're feeling about this person. And that was like the next step for us that night after I had this reading, that the first one that I did, we got out some photo albums. Yeah. And I just started talking to people on the other side.
Yeah, there was people, my family that passed you never met.
Yeah.
And she was telling me stuff, and they were telling me stuff through her. Yeah. About my family, and I was like, whoa. Of course, I was excited. I'm like, oh, who could we tell? She's like, nah, I'm not ready for that.
No,
yet.
Not ready.
But
it's
in time.
When it came at me that night, it was very intense. That was the start of the spiritual awakening where everything kind of started to make sense to me. And I was like, whoa, there's a whole world out there that people know absolutely nothing about. Right. But I was so like so connected. I didn't like it. It was too connected. It was like I could see everything and hear everything. It was almost like they gave me this big explosion at first.
Just to show you what could possibly be.
And I think what'll happen is over time I'll start to build, and then maybe it will be like that. But if they would have thrown all of that at me at once, I would have been very, very overwhelmed. Right. So like I said, I'm still learning, and we'll talk about that, like how it kind of progresses. But the next really most important thing is meditation. Very important. Yeah. You have to learn to quiet your mind, because really opening up this part of your mind, it's like rewiring your brain. You're relearning everything. You're trying to convince your brain that things that it's never done before that it can do.
And in some ways you're kind of hearing twice the information, because if you're tapped in, you'll hear your thought. Yeah. Or, your initial free will or whatever it is. And then you'll hear the other. Right. So you have to be tapped in to hear it. Yes. So the meditation is key to quiet your thought down and your free will to just open up to the other message. Yes. And sometimes the importance of the way that message comes in being like I or you is a good way to kind of to distinguish. Yes. What is it, me, or is it that the other side, or my higher self kind of? Yeah. But a lot of times the stuff from your higher self will sound the same because it'll be I. Right. You do have to learn how to decipher it. And like you were saying, the meditation, it does that. That's exactly what it does, because at first for me, like I couldn't really relax. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't have anybody to talk to. There was nobody. It was just, here you go. Right. Nobody I knew had been through this. Even the lady Maureen, the medium that told me about this, she hadn't really opened her gifts up so much that she could help me with this. Right. So I had to kind of learn on my own. And I did a lot of reading on meditation. And that's another thing that the groups are good about, is that you can ask these kind of questions. Like, what do I do next? Or for me with the meditation, at first when I would start to try to meditate, I would hear my voice and theirs, but mine would be sometimes almost demonic. And I think that's why sometimes people think that
there's like evil spirits and possession.
Right.
But I really believe that for whatever reason, your brain is just doing some weird kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like like interacting with each other, the two worlds.
The wires are crossing or something.
Right. So you have to learn how to shut those wires down and so that you can just listen to what they have to say.
Right.
And once you learn to do that, it makes life a lot easier. And we actually did a whole episode on meditation. That was episode 24. So if you haven't heard it, have a listen to it, because it will help you to learn how to build these meditation abilities too.
Oh, yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
I have found, though, that if you remember when this first started, I would wake up in the morning and I would be worried that my abilities were gone.
Right.
I didn't understand that they weren't going to go anywhere. They were only going to get better, but I was terrified because every day is different. That's really something to keep in mind with this too, is that no 2 days are going to be the same. Just like everything else in life.
Yeah.
Your abilities are not going to be the same every day. And you're going to have days where you're not going to feel connected at all. And those days scared me. I didn't understand why they were like that. And I still have a hard time with the days that are really, really strong. And then I wake up and it's like, bleh.
Right.
But now at least I'm at a point where I wake up in the morning and I'm already connected.
Right.
I don't have to work at it anymore. It's just already there. And I never thought I would get there, but it did happen. And it's just about patience and learning. And
that's part of the human experience, is not everything is going to be always low and not everything is going to be always high.
Yes.
So we have to go through these emotions and highs and lows in our life just as humans and souls. But when you get into this part of that, tapping into this extra sense and now going, how can I develop this? It becomes sort of similar to, it mirrors life.
It does.
It's weird.
It is very strange. It's a very big change. And I think for everybody, you have the kind of control to decide how much you want this to change your life. For me, I almost feel like I didn't have a choice. This was a push for me because this is where I'm supposed to go with my life. This is what I'm supposed to do. It's not a hobby. It's not just something that I do on the side for fun. This is my life. This is where I'm going. It's my goal. And so I've been pushed into it, and I've been pushed into it fast and by myself. And it's definitely has been trying, but it's also been very, very rewarding.
And like I said earlier, it's rubbed off on me because I wasn't really seeking this.
No.
I was seeking love and understanding and maybe knowledge about how this universe really does work and some of that magic that we can't see that surrounds us every day.
Right.
I was seeking that, but I wasn't really seeking to be, any kind of intuitive things or psychic ability. And I get my own visions and things and messages of like, this is what's got to go down.
I definitely didn't see that coming. Like when this first started, I just kind of figured, okay, well, this is just what I do. But I understand now that it makes sense for you to be building this as well, because it all kind of goes together that, you're my husband. And if we work together on this, then it's even stronger. So
absolutely.
It absolutely can. That's important too. It can bring your marriage together, but it can also probably hurt it as well if your spouse isn't supportive.
Oh yeah. I mean, it could tear somebody, a relationship apart, but it's like two entities. They're energies in themselves, you and I.
Right.
And we have our own ability and strengths, but together, and I think we really did seek each other out.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
We manifested this life and sought this out for ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And we are trying to kind of create our perfect life.
Right.
So, and it's working.
Yeah. And these gifts have changed it tremendously. It's moved us in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's pushed us down a path that we didn't see ourselves going down. And like I said, we'll do a spiritual awakening episode so that we can talk about all of that, because that's a lot in itself about how this can change your life. I don't know whether you have to go through a spiritual awakening when you're developing your psychic abilities. I'm not sure if it's like everybody does. I don't know how you could avoid it.
I don't know how you could. That's sort of like the part of their getting your attention.
Right, exactly. Once you start to see what's really going on, which is a part of opening the psychic ability, it changes your thought process. So I don't see how it's possible, but maybe I don't know. Especially if you're developing them at an older age.
Right.
It would seem like that would be more difficult.
Yeah.
But going back to that, like I was saying, I like to start every day on a high note. Like I wake up and I try to be like, it's going to be a good day. I'm going to do readings. I'm going to, be connected. Just even if, we all have bad days. And so we know every day is not going to be.
Absolutely.
But if you can start off on that note, it helps to raise your vibrations, which helps you to be connected.
Oh, yeah.
I meditate first thing in the morning in the shower every day. I have to. If I don't, I'm a jittery mess. It's very important. And then I will go and try and do some readings because that raises my vibrations as well.
Right.
So all of these things are like building you up. Yep. And the more that I'm built up in the morning, the more my abilities build through the day. And the higher, by the time I go to bed, it's like everything's like so open and clear.
And see, that for me was like the biggest, I think, kind of evidence to myself that I was changing was that I was not a good waker upper.
No, not at all.
In the morning.
This is a fact.
And so I was like, how am I going to change this? How do you change that energy?
Right.
First thing in the morning. And I was reading a book and it said, put a little note there, on the side of your bed, maybe with a couple words, gratitude, and understanding or, love.
Yeah.
Something that would be the first thing I saw when I woke up, and it worked. It was like it took a little while.
Yeah.
But I don't wake up anymore overwhelmed by what the day has got in store for me. I'm more excited about, what does the day have in store for me?
Exactly. Exactly. It does. It changes your thought process. And it also, for me, changed that, like, if I do have a bad day and I can't get past it, if there is some reason why it's just not going to, like, really, get better or whatever, I always just think it's okay because tomorrow's a new day. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to put today behind me and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be a new day. And those are things that all changed with this as well, is just you see things clearer and you want to be clearer and things that you never even realized that go along with this, that like eating healthier. Yeah. I never in a million years would have thought that eating healthier would help my abilities, but it does. Yeah. When I eat like crap, I feel like crap, and my readings are not as accurate. I mean, they're accurate. I'm not tooting my own horn, but they're always accurate.
They're pretty accurate.
They're just not as detailed. When I'm clear, right, when I take care of myself, they're so clear that I impress myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just really goes to show that it's you have to take better care of yourself when you try to have these abilities.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have them. You can have them and do none of this, but you're not going to enjoy them. Like, I didn't enjoy them at first. They were a nuisance. I didn't want it because it was too much work. I felt emotional all the time. Mm-hmm. But once you learn how to use them, it gets easier.
Emotions scare a lot of people.
Scared the hell out of me.
But the truth is that is the true connection, and that is sort of the gift of this life, is that we have this flesh that when we're sad, we can cry. Mm-hmm. When we're happy, we can cry.
Yeah.
So, as much as the other side is awesome, they love it here too.
Yeah.
Once you get there and you see how wonderful this world can be based on your own reactions,
right,
and actions and energy,
yeah,
then they start to look at it I think as a spirit, as a soul, instead of a
Right.
human going,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it changes everything. So let's talk about some things that you can do to continue to build those things. Once you've kind of got a basis of where your abilities are, maybe, know that you're connected, you're meditating, those types of things. How can you continue to grow them? Because you're not going to get them all at once. And that was something that I was like so dumb about. And I've talked about this in other episodes, how when something will come out of my mouth and it will be such a lie, but it's not me like lying. It's like I said, I know everything I need to know about my psychic abilities. I think I said that like a week after I found out about them. And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh no, you don't. And that's a way that they get a message through to me. Like that was a message of, no, you don't. It was crystal clear. And I'll tell you what, a year and a half into this, I still don't know everything, and I don't think I will ever know everything. And
That's
I'm
part of the
still
journey.
Growing. Yeah.
It's a part of the excitement because then it'll never get old.
I had no idea. I really, like the things that have happened to me, I had no idea, and we'll get into it more. But one of the things that I've found very, very helpful is journaling. And I have several journals that I keep. I have a voice journal so that like if things are happening and I can't write them down, I can be in the car and even talking, I can talk through the car. I don't even have to wear my headset, and it picks up in this app. And then I can journal just like that. Or I write things down. It's very important because it helps you to see your progression. It helps you to see how they're communicating with you.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the journals that I have is a tarot journal. And tarot is also a very good tool. It's very, very accurate. But my tarot journal helps me to see a few things. It helps me to see my progression in learning how to read tarot.
Mm-hmm.
It also has shown me that tarot's not as scary as I thought it was, because at first I was like, something big is coming. The world's coming to an end. And now I'm like, okay, so there might be like a minute in a day that's going to be.
Yeah, I think when you first said, I got some tarot cards, my mind wanted to say, oh, you ain't bringing that devil up in this house? But then, and now I see it and I'm like, it's not that at all.
Not
it's
at all.
So amazing, actually.
What was weird, something really weird happened today, because that's another thing that I do every morning. It helps me get connected is I pull tarot just to see what the day is going to bring. It is helping me to learn how to read it. Mm-hmm. Today was very odd. Today I pulled the Tower, and sometimes I don't like to see these cards. We've had this happen, and I get mad, and I'll put the card back in. Right. And that's what happened today with the Tower. Put it back in, shuffled, and it came flying back out at me. And you've been a witness. You've seen this happen.
Oh, yeah.
It happened to us
not just with that
ago.
card, but with other cards, too.
Oh, yeah, with all of them. If you're like, I don't believe this card, and I put it back in the deck, guaranteed it's coming back out.
Yeah.
It's coming back out at you. Yeah. So today I pulled the Tower, and then I wanted to know what they were talking about. And the supporting cards show a male at an institution like a school, mm-hmm. and it shows justice like police officers. It was showing the shooting.
Yeah. What
was so weird about it was because I take pictures of them so mm-hmm. that I have that in my journal. I took a picture of it, and it was 7:38 this morning, and that shooting happened at like 7:40. Wow. It was right about the same time.
Wow.
So, but a year ago, if I would have seen that come up, I would have freaked out.
Right. What's going to happen to
right.
me?
But I know now that it's not as bad as it looks. And one of the reasons I know that is because I go back through my journals and I look at what a crazy person I was when I first had these abilities and go see how you freaked out and you thought the world was coming to an end every single day.
Yeah.
They don't work like that.
No.
And this helps you to see that.
Yeah.
So journaling is very important. Also like a symbol journal and meanings, because a lot of times the other side, the way they communicate with you, it's not always clear. So like for me, I will sometimes see a dog, like if there's a dog, somebody wants to, I don't know, if the dog's trying to come through, or if a spirit on the other side is trying to show me that they're with a dog, sometimes I will just get a golden retriever. I won't get the type of dog. I'll just get a golden retriever, which I know means it was a bigger dog. So that's a symbol for me.
Right.
So I have in my journal an area that I write these down when I figure them out. If somebody died by overdose, I usually see a pill bottle. So that these are things you want to keep track of and write down so that you know what exactly your symbols are. Because you will forget. Who's the queen of saying she's not going to forget something and forgetting it?
You.
I forget it while I'm saying I'm not going to forget it. I'm not going to forget. Wait, what am I not going to forget?
Welcome to old age.
It sucks. And it really, it does have something to do with the abilities as well. I have read that. Yeah. And the spiritual awakening is that they're trying to teach you to use your intuition more and not your memory as much. But this sucks. Mm-hmm. Like, seriously, I have no memory. So everything gets written down or put into a journal.
Right.
Just do it. Trust me, you'll look back and you'll love to see the progress that you've made. It's really, I love to see it. I'm like, look at you.
I didn't do the journal, but your mom, when we channel with her, gave us homework assignment and was to write down I don't know, I think I ended up writing like 2 pages, but your perfect life, what you envision, and so many of the things have already happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good thing to refer back to, too, like when you get into those kind of moods and, I understand why she made us do that exercise. It was a good one. And I would recommend it to any of our listeners that it is really a good way to put into perspective for you what you want in your life. And the thing about that, too, is that there were things that we didn't have on our lists that we should have put on our list, but forgot about. And those things are now happening. It's really weird.
I think it was a lesson in kind of faith to show us.
Yes.
See, if you believe that you can do this and bring these things to yourself, even to others, helping others, you can achieve these dreams.
Absolutely.
You really can. It's only as far out of reach as your perception is.
Right. That's something about these abilities that I don't know if people understand is that I may charge for my services sometimes. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of free readings. I do a lot of free things, period, because I want to help people and I want to not just bring better karma to myself, but that's what I want. Like, I want to be that good person. This is how I choose to use my abilities. I don't expect everybody to pay me. I'm very generous with that, but I do have to make a living still, My point being is it's about how you use your abilities. If you're going to use them,
what is the intent?
Exactly. You're not going to be able to win the lottery. Trust me. You're not. It doesn't work like that. If it did, you'd have a lot more people out there that could win the lottery because there's a lot of people with these abilities already built. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work like that, and there's a reason for that. So,
I agree.
Something else that I have done from the beginning, these are called Zener cards, and you see them sometimes in the movies. They're Ghostbusters was one of the movies in particular I remember them being in, where the app in particular that I have is called Are You Psychic? And the different cards they have are numbers, there's shapes, there's landscapes, there's a few different things. And then the point of this is to kind of learn the voice in your head that's telling you the correct answer.
Right. Because
you don't always know, and logic will kick in. So these cards, like when I started them, I started with 2. You can do between 2 and 5, and you can pick whichever thing you think will work best for you. So a lot of times I'll do numbers, and then, like, for example, on the 2 cards, let's say that there's a 1 and a 3, and then the card that's upside down, you have to use your abilities to try and tune into what it is.
Right.
It's a lot harder than you may think.
Because you want to use logic and reason.
That's exactly right. And because I still have issues with this. When I first started, I was doing 2. And I remember I was like 5 or 6 and I was very frustrated. There's 25. It gives you 25 to start. I built and I built and I built. And I got to the point where I was at 2 cards. I was at 18. And I thought, okay, I'm going to move on to 3. And now with 3, I'm at about like 13-ish. So I'll do the same thing. Once I get to like 18, I'll move on to 4. You would think it wouldn't matter how many cards you use, but it plays psychological tricks on you because you think that there's more choices, so it's harder.
Right.
But that's not it at all. You have to shut that part out, and it's very hard. And, you know, you and I will be talking, and I'll have the app open, and I'll just randomly go over to it. I don't know if you ever noticed this. I'll go over randomly to it and click on what it is, because if I sit there and I tune out and I listen to whatever you're saying, I'll get a flash of what it is.
That's how a lot of things happen for me.
Yes.
It's the meditation is important in the sense that I'm doing something for my mind where I'm clearing my mind for a moment and just connecting, but I may not necessarily get answers or anything at that moment. They often come in when I'm in the middle of thinking about something else or someone's talking to me, and it's like a, whoa.
Yes.
Like when you talked about Chelsea's mom, and I saw a vision of her like that. And then months later, she drove by her, and that's exactly what she saw.
Right. That's exactly what happens, and that's their way of kind of showing us, okay, if you're doing something, because that happens to be a lot. If you're doing something and all of a sudden this thought comes in that you were not thinking about, there was no reason for it to come to you, there's probably a reason why.
Yes.
I get that almost every client of my pet sitting clients that's going to contact me, I know before they do. And that's how it comes in, is I'll be doing something completely not even having to do with work, and all of a sudden I'll see this client and I'll know, okay.
Right.
That happens to me almost every day with clients that sometimes I haven't heard from in a year, and I'm like, okay, sure.
Right.
And then they text. Those are the ones you need to really pay attention to, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like how you said that, because that's exactly how it is for me.
Yeah, and these Zener cards, they do help with that. They're frustrating. Sometimes I want to throw my phone.
And like I was saying with the logic, so if you're using like colors and you're thinking, oh, because you said this to me before, like, oh, you see them like, 5 greens in a row.
Yeah.
So you're thinking the next one's going to definitely not be green.
Right.
You want to use logic and reason.
Yes.
And you're now talking over that other frequency.
Yes.
That is trying to tell you what it really is.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
It is. And it's very hard to learn how to tune that out.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
Yeah, it can.
I never thought that I would be able to do the level with these cards that I can now. And I don't think I'm ever going to be perfect. I don't think I'm ever going to get 25 out of 25 on 5. I don't think that that's really logical. And I'm not aiming for that.
Is that really the goal?
No.
You can already tell yourself or show yourself that you're able to connect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At first when these abilities started, I wanted to prove it all the time. I wanted to write everything down. I had so much to prove. I don't care anymore. I know they're real. It doesn't matter. It's, I do things now to strengthen my abilities. And it's like sometimes I'll say to you, yeah, I saw that coming.
Right.
Like I just, it just becomes second nature. And I'm very happy for that. And I'll tell you, if you're building these abilities, that does come. It becomes like second nature to you.
Yeah. And like you said about the episode of 24 of meditation, if you listen to that, please don't think that when we say meditation is going to get you closer to growing these abilities, meaning you got to sit there Indian style and silent.
No.
There's a lot of different things that you can do that are meditative.
A lot.
That will help you.
Yes.
And music, music is a big part of our lives.
Yes.
Both listening, for me playing, but listening is where I get a lot of that disconnect from my own mind, and then I get more of those feelings or those vision kind of things.
Music has always, since my mom passed, it's been the number one way she's communicated with me besides numbers.
Yep.
I never looked at it as a psychic ability. It is a psychic ability. To be able to recognize that they're communicating with you this way, it is a psychic ability. They're building this in me and in you to recognize the music that we hear and the numbers that we see as messages for
They're using it to communicate.
Yes. You're doing a good job.
That was like a second phase or second spiritual awakening for me when that started happening.
Yeah.
The first one was like you explained a little while ago, the first night, and then we busted out the photo albums, and that was where it was like, holy crap. crap, this is real.
Yeah.
And then
it was like meeting Santa
when
Claus.
they started communicating with me,
yeah,
via numbers, on multiple occasions, still happening.
Yes.
It's happened the other night with Marina too.
Yeah, Marina's seeing them now too.
So,
she's starting to get more into it for sure. Yeah, it's become a family affair. I think it does.
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, music and numbers, there's so much that I've learned about how they communicate with music. It's a divine connection.
Absolutely.
You can't ever discount things. I used to look at music before like the whole song had to make sense, and that's not the case. Sometimes they will just throw like a line out at you that will stick out, or whatever, old songs that never meant anything to you. We did a whole episode on this too, music.
Yeah.
I love that episode.
And how many artists would tell you, I don't even know where that song came from. It just came out of me.
Yeah, exactly.
I could tell you from experience that's happening. It has happened to me, and it is happening.
Yep.
To me, because I'm asking, I'm welcoming, that. So I could see how I'm not discounting any musician out there, because, if you put the time into it, you're good.
Right.
Just like this.
Right.
You'll reap the benefits, but there is a connection that's helping you for sure. Once you connect to it, it will help you.
That source is there for you constantly, but once you learn to tap into it and never tap out, it's like, it's amazing.
Right.
Life just really does. It changes, and you see like this music, the way that I see music now too, like I've always been a music lover, but I see the way they use it now, and I see like how they're trying to teach us to use it as a psychic feeling and ability. Like when things are going on with a certain part of our life, they will shove a song down our throat.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to teach us, associate this song with this part of your life, so that when we show you that song, you know that these things are coming. It's a whole other way of using your psychic abilities.
Oh yeah, it really is.
No idea until I got into it. Yep. I love it.
Something else that I share with you too that kind of happens for me, and that is the ears. I get a little bit of ringing in the ears. Not just ringing in the ears, because trust me, I've been around loud amplifiers for a long time, so I get ringing in my ear.
Yeah.
This is different. It's like where it feels like they're turning a dial, a frequency. It doesn't feel like, sounds like.
Yes.
And so it's doing these kind of like as if they're either saying, we're trying to get your attention, or raise your vibrations to this frequency, or you're doing something good, you're on the right track. I look at it as just, again, another sign, and it's definitely different. Just like the visions and the messages compared to my own thoughts. Right. These frequencies are different.
Yes, and it's funny because I actually came across something online today that talked about this. When I first started kind of developing, during the time that I was painting rocks, and I would get really, really into the rocks and tune them out completely, I would have that a lot. Sometimes so much so that if I tuned it out, I would start to feel pain in my neck from it. And so I don't really have it so much anymore, but let me read you what I saw, because it might explain things a little bit better. It says, do your ears ring frequently? Pay close attention to when your ears start to ring. Your ears ring when you are increasing your vibration, tuning into higher frequencies, integrating spiritual downloads, receiving insights from your spirit guides, or perceiving higher dimensions of reality. One ear may ring at one time, or both ears may ring simultaneously. This is normal to experience as you progress on your ascension journey.
I totally believe it. Yeah, I totally buy it.
It is very true. It's because I've had it happen where as soon as I'm like, okay, what do you want? And I sit back and I relax, it stops. There was one night that I had that pain in my neck from it, and I started panicking, and I was like, what is this? Like, I could almost feel a vein in my neck pulsating, and I could hear my mom say, calm down, relax, relax. And as soon as I did and relaxed and I listened to her, it all went away. So sometimes they will do those things, the ear ringing, and you're raising your vibrations, and it feels different.
Right. Everything
feels different.
Yeah.
I have that too. It's funny because I went to the doctor a couple months ago with really bad sinus thing, and she's like, well, do your ears ring? my ears always, I always have like a weird kind of like static thing, and I do get ear ringing. And she's like, "Oh, well, you need to go to a hearing doctor then." I'm like, "I don't need a hearing doctor."
Huh?
Yeah. Huh? What? I don't need a hearing doctor. Anyways, so yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that they will try and get your attention. Little things like that, especially in the beginning when they're really trying to teach you how to pay attention to them trying to get your attention.
That's another way for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Something that I did to help me practice as well when I first started, I don't do it so much now, is there's groups on Facebook you can join for this as well. But I did a lot of missing persons work. I would go online, like Google missing people, and then I wouldn't read the article or anything. I would just look at the picture and get the first name. And then I would just write down. Actually, you can see my first journal is just missing people. There's so much in there. And just writing down everything that I felt. Now, a lot of this stuff that you feel, you may not be able to validate,
right?
Especially if it's not like online.
A solved case.
Right. Yeah. Or like the person's never been found. Or if you're just Googling it. I started having an issue with that. Like, I felt like I wanted to help to maybe try and find some people. So I went into Facebook groups and started doing a lot of these. And there were a lot of suicides, a lot of people that commit suicide and aren't found. Yeah. And then people that I said will be found, and they were later. So there were some that I was able to.
Some of those with me. I was blown away.
So there were some like those that I was able to help him, but for the most part, that's the downside to them is they're pretty anticlimactic because most of these people that I worked on haven't been found. Like, for example, Elaine Parks, she went missing, I think, in the Griffith Park area. Can't remember how long. It was a few years back.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about it. I hadn't heard anything. We don't watch the news.
Not really.
Yeah, so I didn't heard anything about it. And so I just started jotting down, and one of the things that I did read in the news article was that her phone was found, and that was something that I had jotted down. So even if you're not getting everything out of, like, news articles about the person, you can still, get a basis.
You're exercising it.
Yes. The Facebook groups, that was very different for me because I did start to get involved with the families of some of these people that are missing. And that got emotional. And this was where something else came in, too, that I used. And we've talked about this is bringing in a pendulum. And what a pendulum is it's a crystal on the end of, like, a chain.
This is fascinating, actually. Yeah.
So what this does is it works off of your energy or whatever the other side's sending through you. And so you hold on to the chain part, and then you ask questions. And you have your own system with it. Everybody has their own system. So, like, for me, if the crystal spins if it spins clockwise, it's yes. Counterclockwise, it's no. But you can make up your own thing. You can even, like, kind of like a Ouija board, have it where it will spell out things for you.
I watched you do it, and I actually held it. You said try it, and I could feel the force.
Yes.
Wanting to pull certain way.
Yes. So the way that I would do these, trying to find missing people, is I would use my pendulum and get my iPad and go on Google Earth. And then I would close my eyes and move the pendulum around, and you can feel the resistance, like you were saying. You can feel when you get to something that's important, it releases that pendulum and it starts spinning. And it's a trip. I videotaped it too. Yeah. The thing with that is that a lot of the times what comes up ends up almost being a clue. And that kind of is hard. Like, there was one, Samantha Perry is her name, and that one I worked on a lot. I even talked to the family, and I came up with 2 spots that the pendulum reacted to, and one was her house, and the other one was where a clue was found. I'm like, well, that's great. We already know where these things are. But it does validate for the family that we're on the right track.
Right.
What
was the other gentleman that went missing in Malibu?
Matthew. I can't remember what his last name is.
You worked with that a little bit,
Chelsea
too.
and I both did. We actually sent in where we believe he is.
But we've had fires, so...
Yes. If where we felt he was is really where he was...
He wouldn't be there anymore.
No.
Right.
So...
fire.
Yeah. So I don't know. Right. But yeah, that is a great way to build your abilities. Just be aware that it can be very emotional, very taxing. You're going to see things you don't want to see, but you can and I believe you may have mentioned this earlier, that you can ask the other side to not show you certain things.
Put up boundaries. Yeah.
You can.
I watched you do it.
Yes. I don't want to see the suicides. I understand I need to know how they happened, but I don't want to see it happen.
Right.
So the other side, like, they'll show me maybe what happened up until the actual moment, and then I'll just maybe know how. I just don't want to see the bad. I can't. With animal readings, if it was an animal that was hit by a car, I don't want to see the animal get hit by a car. Just tell me what happened.
Thomas John said that he saw the person actually kind of, if it was suicide, would sort of motion to themselves like it was me.
See, that's a symbol. That's a symbol. Everybody has their own. So for him, that meant that was a suicide. For me, it really depends on how they took their life. But a lot of the times, I just know. It's not like they have to symbolize it to me.
Right.
I just know that that's what happened. And we're going to do a whole episode about how you have all these different senses, how, like, you see and hear and
this
know.
extra sense is like under that umbrella, there's a bunch of these other senses within this extra sense. It's
just too much to all fit into one episode. So we're going to do a separate one on that, but then you'll maybe understand a little bit more of, like, what I mean when I say that.
Right.
You know. So let's see, what else can I tell you to help you build your abilities? I actually asked Chelsea. So let me give you guys a little background on Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Because I do talk about her a lot, and I don't know if I've ever really, like, told anybody. So when I first started doing readings, Chelsea was one of the first people I did a reading for. And we started talking, and then, like, a couple weeks later, she messaged me and told me that she was interested in building her psychic ability and was wondering how. So we started talking, and I almost started mentoring her, and we just became really good friends.
Right.
And she's a lot younger than me. She has a baby, so she's not fast-tracked like I am at 42. She is very busy. So she's able to kind of sit back and watch the things that happen, and as are you. So I've kind of been like a mentor to her. So I asked her, like, what would she suggest to people? Like, what were the hardest things for her? And she actually did suggest a mentor. Getting a mentor is important. And this is what she said. If I didn't have Samantha as a guide mentor during my spiritual awakening, I would have been extremely scared and lost. The best advice for new psychics and mediums is to find a good mentor that you can connect with. You can only read so much from books or Google. You will need someone, a real-life person, to answer your questions, give you advice, hear their experiences, and help you along the way.
And she also said something about the belief, the trust.
Trust is a big thing.
Yes.
That's something, completely entirely different. Right. You have to be able to not only trust yourself, but the other side. You have to trust that they're going to guide you and show you what's right and not guide you in the wrong direction. And it is very hard to surrender that and to just say, I'm just going to relinquish that.
Yeah, because if you don't trust, you're automatically going to use your own free will and get in your own way most of the time, probably.
Absolutely. So this is what she said about that. She said, giving all of my trust to the other side, which also includes having faith in them, was very difficult. I am a control freak, and learning how to let go of my life and letting them take the lead was hard for me. You have to trust them 100% to guide you on your right path. They will never steer you in the wrong direction. I will tell you that Chelsea and I, if we didn't think like this a year and a half ago. This is something that we've both built. It's taken time. It's taken patience.
I've watched you guys build it.
Yeah. It's not something that happens overnight. It's absolutely something that takes time, and you have to be patient, and you have to learn to trust. You do.
Yeah.
There's just so much, about that, for sure. Sure. Let's see. What else do I have for you? Something at the beginning that I wish somebody would have told me is that you can't predict everything. I didn't understand that because nobody ever told me how these psychic abilities work. I just figured you're a psychic and you just know everything. Right. And that's not it at all. You have to build these things. You have to, it's like a muscle. Like the best way that I could compare it is like we all have it, right?
Yep.
Kind of like how we all have a 6-pack, but we don't all show our 6-pack because we don't work out, right? So if you work out that muscle and you build that muscle, then
you'll see it.
Exactly.
That's
then
a good
you
analogy.
will see it. I think so. It
makes me even thinking like in my own context, like for like my life with music, and that you get to kind of hear it like born sort of, because I'll sit there on the couch and be playing this thing over and over and probably driving you nuts.
No, I tune it out.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because you're hearing repetitive, same thing. But then fast forwarding months later to hearing it being played as a band.
Right.
Now it's like a song that's born.
Right.
But I had this thought, like as I'm sitting there and we were talking just now, that you'll hear me like playing something and then I'll stop and go, no, that's not it.
Right.
And then I keep going and going and going. And then all of a sudden I'm like, that's it.
Right.
Because I'm hearing it in my head.
Yep.
There's like a connection that's like, I've opened myself, like share this. I'm not professionally trained how to play music. I don't know how to read music. I don't anything, I just hear it.
Yeah, you're just naturally talented.
And so I've had like a kind of a flood of it over the last couple years where it's really been coming in because I was asking for it.
Yeah.
And I was trusting that if I just ask for it, it's going to come.
Exactly.
So when I'm hearing those as I'm trying to write pieces or something, I realize that is the connection.
Yes.
Like either it's my higher self or them, but somebody's sharing some melody with me and I can't stop or put it down until I go,
right,
that was the chord I was looking for.
Right.
And I'll move my hand 100 ways until I find it,
Right, for sure.
So.
Yeah. I could go on and on.
I know.
And we're out of time.
We are.
And I feel
Sorry.
like I didn't even get through a lot of things. But if there's anybody that has questions that they feel like, there's anything that was left unsaid, we're also, like I said, we're going to talk more in depth about the different, like, knowing and seeing and hearing and all those things in a separate episode. And
we can get into more some of these examples in there.
That's exactly right. We'll get into more of these. But in the meantime, if anybody has any questions or needs any help, I do mentoring. So I'm happy to help with that.
Cool.
Just shoot me an email. spiritualjoneses@gmail.com is the email.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's all. That's what I got for now.
Beautiful. Well, that was fun.
Yes, it was.
And I think it was a good one. And I hope that people got something out of it that they feel like if they're interested, they can use.
I think so. I hope
so too. To develop their own abilities.
For sure.
The goal here isn't to see your future, folks.
No, it's not. I'm glad you said that.
It's just to be in tune with the universe and yourself.
Yeah.
And you'll see these things and they'll guide you to maybe better things.
Yes, absolutely.
And you'll be able to avoid maybe not so good things.
It's all about that, really. It's not about the predicting. It's about learning how to direct your life. And we will definitely get into that in future
because
episodes.
You still got to go through it to get to it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
This is the journey. This is your life. This is the experience.
Right. Exactly.
It's not try to figure it all out and skip the point A to point B, everything in between.
Yes, exactly. So.
Well, before we say adios, would you like to share any information?
I would. I realized this week that I haven't shared my Facebook group.
Oh my God.
So I wanted
rude.
to share. I know, right? I have with Chelsea a free reading group on Facebook. So if you'd like to see how my readings work, which if you are interested in the episode, the next one that we'll do about the different senses, this is a good place to kind of see how my readings work and to see what I mean by the different senses, the feeling, seeing, knowing. The name of my group is Free Pet Psychic Medium Tarot and Astrology Readings, and you can find that on Facebook. Search it. You'll see me as an admin, and there you go.
Cool.
Join my group. And then as far as everything else goes, you can find whatever you need to know about me on my website at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com.
Cool.
Yeah. And
if you ever want to go in those groups and check out, it's really amazing what Chelsea and you and Nisha can do. And I know there's a lot of people out there, but if you feel like it, I do it. I don't really comment or anything or even like a lot. I just want to read and see what people are asking and what the information is giving back, and see these people's responses of like, oh my gosh, like that was amazing. So it's definitely worth popping in there and trying to get a glimpse of it. It's good work.
I
really
love my
good
group. Yeah.
If you do like art, I do art. So D Jones Art Collection at .com. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, D Jones Art Collection. Music, gypsybrown.com. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram at Gypsy Brown Music.
Yay.
So yeah, we're still going at it. We've had some changes again, but we're on the right track.
Good.
And I'm excited.
Hey, me too. Yeah.
It feels like a long road, but that's, like I said, you guys
life.
are listening and to all of our journey that we're on here sharing, and we're doing it to hopefully shed light and show people that you can make it happen. So
yes, that is our goal.
That's it.
We
did it.
Episode 31 in
the
bag.
can.
Yeah,
Boom, done.
Can, bag, whatever you want to say.
Well, we really appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yes, and looking forward to talking to you next week.
Absolutely. Until then, we hope you have a great week. And
peace and love.